meeting. Have you guys fellas had a chance to look at them?
Yes, I did, and they looked good to me.
Yep.
Make a motion to approve them as submitted?
Second. Mr. Haddad?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Thanks. And next we have a presentation of retirement badge to Officer Dykus. And Chief?
Ron, would you come up here, please?
Who's ahead of you? I like the full beard now. It's bigger than mine.
It's coming along.
Yeah.
You tell he's in retirement, huh?
I'm going to say that.
Okay, I'd just like to read a little something that I've prepared here rather than ad-libbing it after going through Ron's personnel file a couple of days ago. And of course, most of this stuff I already knew, but again, I wanted to be very thorough. Ron was certified as a police officer over 30 years ago, then started with the Ada Police Department. He moved to Kenton Police Department in 1990, then returned to Ada, where he was promoted to sergeant before being hired by Sylvania Township Police Department August 9th of 1999. Ron has worked the majority of his career here on the midnight shift. Ron was recently promoted to sergeant on August 8th, 2010. He shocked me just before the holidays when he advised me that he was meeting with PERS in Columbus on his next days off to determine if it was in fact the best time for him to retire. A few days later, Ron advised me that he would retire from our department effective December 31st, 2010. Ron has served just over 30 years as a police officer, the last 11 and a half with Sylvania Township Police Department. During most of his career with our department, he has diligently served as our head range master, which is also our firearms instructor, at a time of great transition within our department, as we acquired an outdoor shooting range and implemented the use of several new weapon systems, including the M16s we carry in the patrol cars today. With his patience as an instructor, working with officers at all levels in their shooting ability, and his expertise and training in the weapons themselves, Ron has been a huge, huge asset to the department in this position. I have found Ron to be extremely easy to work with over these past 11 and a half years. He has proven to be a very competent and compassionate officer in serving our community. He will be sorely missed. Will you please join me in applauding his service to the department and our community as we award him with a small token of our appreciation for his outstanding service. This is a nice thing that our secretary, Mary Bell, puts together for our retired police officers. And I personally have a lot of pride in the department, and I know all of our officers that retire do too. And so I hope that this is something that he'll proudly display on a prominent wall in his home.
Just like to say congratulations, but we're disappointed you're leaving us. You did a good service there, so thank you very much.
Congratulations, man.
Congratulations.
Thanks. Congratulations.
Okay, I'd like to add one thing after a few phone calls, and if it's okay with Mr. Genowine, we're going to return the participation of anybody who wants to speak on agenda items only at this point in time, if that's okay with you.
That's fine.
Because we had so little of them, and when I was down at Township Association, they said that was a good thing, because if you already voted on it, the public doesn't have a chance to say something on it. But we're going to limit the time limit to no more than 2 minutes, so if you have something important to speak about, I don't know if we have a list, Dave?
I do have a list.
And if it's important, 2 minutes, that's it. Be brief and keep to the point. On agenda items.
3 minutes.
Huh?
What happened to the 3 minutes?
We changed it. Al, when I was down in Columbus, we don't have to let this participation at all. So we decided to put this back on, but keep it on task.
Well,
keep it
wait
to
a
the
minute.
point of 2 minutes.
We didn't decide
No,
anything.
we didn't decide anything. They told me that in Columbus. And that's up to Mr. Genowine and myself, so it's up to him.
So you're changing it. Excuse me, you're changing it.
Yes. If John wants to, it's up to John. Let John speak.
Well, you know, if somebody's got something to say, we'll listen to them tonight, so.
Okay.
Well, we've got the list here, and there's Stephen Rothschild on the trustee appointment, and that's really not on the agenda.
That's not an agenda item, that would be at the end.
Okay. Penny Levine,
An agenda item?
yes. Well, it's on fire issues, fire department.
I'm sorry.
Penny Levine, 3753 Her Road. I just have a couple questions. Did all of the testes for the EMT testing pass?
All of the testes, the two
That took the
individuals
test,
taking the test?
yeah.
I know one passed, I don't know about the other, because it no longer work with.
I know, that's on.
Okay.
What is training report?
Yeah, that EMT test that was taken, okay. Also, is there any special training needed for the fire department to extricate or fight a vehicle fire, or any special precautions taken while responding to an incident involving an electrical gas-powered vehicle? And are we trained for that, or is that upcoming?
I don't know, but that's not an agenda item, and we will probably...
Oh, I thought fire was, so...
No, I mean, we can discuss it as we get to that point. Since he already knows, he can address that when it gets to the point of the fire department.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
We have next, Al Hayes.
I guess I spoke out of turn. What's new? All right, mine is under the administration, the resolutions 11-028, 034, 035, and 037. These are resolutions to donate money to different organizations, which I am not against, but I am totally against the township giving my tax dollars away, because you do not have the right to do that. I don't know where, I've tried to research that, and I can't find where you have that right. I read my tax statement, and I didn't see it on there either, amount of taxes I pay, and I even called down to the county to see how they break it down, and there wasn't anything in there about that. It's for the running of services, as you well know, and I think you're sending a mixed message. We talk about different wages, we want to keep a cap on wages, we have negotiations, but we give thousands of dollars away to people that are not on our payroll for our services to the township. I hope these are not pet projects of anyone. I have some other comments to make at the end of the meeting, but I strongly recommend that you take the taxpayer duties as you're elected to do, not to give my tax dollars away. I donate. If you'd like to see who I donate to, welcome to. I'm a big donator, but I don't think you have the right to give my money away. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Al.
Is that it? On
And
agenda
next
item?
on the agenda, then no one else will be
Okay, good.
zoning.
Okay, zoning.
Good evening. On the monthly report, we had a little over $2 million in permits, 27 total permits for the month. Our BZA cases have been averaging 2 a month. We've got 3 coming next month. Business is getting better in that regard. Only 1 violation for January. That may be a record. Be happy to answer any questions you might have on that.
Not on that.
Next item on the agenda is consideration of amendment to the Cary Woods PUD development plan. We would need to open up a hearing on this, since this is going to be a public hearing. If you would like to do so now.
Do you want to do it now, or you want to wait till next meeting with Neil here? Since you got a schedule.
I mean, are there people here that want to open it? Yes, then let's do it.
Okay. Then we'll open it up.
Okay. This proposal involves...
Let me make the motion. We have to make a motion to do
Oh,
that.
okay.
So I make a motion that we open a public hearing for the PUD on the Cary Woods project?
Second.
Okay.
Okay, so now we're in
And now
public.
call the roll, Mr. Haddad,
Yes,
Mr. Genowine. We're into the public hearing on this
so they can speak on it now during this.
Cary Woods issue.
Yes, go ahead.
This involves 4.44 acres just to the north of a property that was rezoned earlier last year from a residential use or agricultural use to R3 residential use. The proposal tonight before you is regarding the property directly north of that first property on Persenum, on the east side of Persenum. Originally, it was approved to accommodate 20 homes. Jim, if you could scroll up just to show the... It was originally proposed to accommodate 20 homes on a T-turnaround cul-de-sac. The proposal for this evening, you can go back down now, is to accommodate 8 townhouses that will be part of that development that was originally approved on Persenum. What you see there is probably around 90% open space on that property now, where before there was under 30% open space. All of the detention will be on the southern property now instead of up on the northern property. There will be no disturbance on the northern half of this new site. There's a total of 17 feet of relief across that property. Originally, the Cary Woods PUD was approved to accommodate 53 units on 12.87 acres net. This will reduce that development down to 33 now.
Okay.
The 2007 land use plan called for this area to be a suburban residential use. The property to the south that was rezoned a year ago was called out to be a transitional zone. Probably this PUD was called out to be suburban residential simply because it had already had a PUD designation on it. Otherwise, I think it would probably have been named a transitional zone also. In acquiring this property and integrating this into the new proposal, the main structure below this property that's under consideration tonight will now have a loop road around it, improving fire access, in addition to deleting a T-turnaround cul-de-sac that was originally approved. One of the issues that occurred during the original rezoning was the condition of Persenum Road. It's somewhere between 16 and 18 feet wide right now, and in
It's 2 documents down. The picture of it. Hold that up there so people can see the picture. I'm sorry, go ahead.
The road itself is in a pretty declining state right now. No berms, and there's the development proposal. You can take it up a little bit, Jim.
So people can see it. Sorry. There you go.
In negotiating that rezoning, the applicant volunteered to improve both sides of Persenum. The applicant, in acquiring this property to the north, is responsible by law to improving the easterly half of the additional 300 feet of frontage. This road will be constructed this year, at least that's their intent. In doing so, This road has been on the township's list for many years, needing improvement. This would be a great time to get it improved if this property is approved for amended PUD tonight. We are exploring different possibilities in regard to that right now, and those things can be ironed out at a later date. We're recommending approval of this amendment. We think that it's an improvement to the existing PUD development plan that was previously approved. It will provide considerably more screening for the people to the north as well as to the east. It provides a better access situation for the development itself. All the detention will be down at the bottom of the grade, which is appropriate. And at this time, we're recommending that this PUD be amended to what's being proposed tonight.
Okay, do we have anybody from the public who'd like to speak on this? State your name and address.
Good evening. Pete Schwiggerat with Miller Valentine Group, Cincinnati, Ohio. We are the developer of the proposed project here. Real quick, I just want to give you a little background on Miller Valentine. We are a full-service developer, probably more so known for our commercial work than our residential work, based out of the Cincinnati-Dayton markets, but we work all over the state and all over the Midwest. As part of our residential group that's been in existence for 17 years now, we develop, own, and manage 10,000 plus units that we've developed and we continue to own. I say that because we are a long-term resident and member of the community once we come in, and we look forward to opportunities to grow what we can bring to the community. Just to quickly summarize, the area in question that we're amending the PUD on that is approved for 20 total units. Again, we're only going to be locating 8 units on this property. Furthermore, the existing plan only contains about a 25-foot buffer to the residents to the north, which is the Carytown development. With the amendment to the plan, we're going to be able to provide over 200 foot of open space, and it's all well-vegetated, high-quality woodlands. So we're happy about that. And with what we're trying to do on this property and a property south of this is develop a 53-unit senior community. It'll include 1 and 2 bedroom units, most of those in a 3-story building located on the property south of this, and then 8 units in cottages on the subject property. We have a load of amenities. The main building has a fitness center, a business center, a theater, all sorts of a club room and additional banquet space to host events. Outside we've got community gardens. We do a lot of green features, bioswales, rain gardens, as well as detention. There will be a picnic shelter out there as well, and some walking paths, everything appropriate for seniors. This site is excellent for seniors because it's proximity to services, and it's well located to make sure residents who typically don't have accessibility or challenges with accessibility, it really provides a great location for them. We're also doing this as an enterprise green project, so it will be fully green design, site and building. It includes all sorts of accessibility and universal design features, which basically allow seniors to age in place, maximize their mobility, and make sure that all the amenities that are in their units are accessible to them, whether they're mobile or immobile. Just to kind of summarize, we're reducing the density by 12 units. We're increasing the buffer from the adjacent residence by 175 plus feet. And we're going to be able to, because of that, make substantial tree and woodland preservation. And as intended, we will be making the appropriate upgrades to Presentum. And because of that, we're happy if you would desire to condition this approval upon us placing the funds for those improvements in escrow, which will assure that those roadway improvements get done. We are, again, talking with the township about trying to maybe include a little more in that project so that we can get sidewalk connectivity to the adjacent parcels. I'll just pass these on, and I do have a couple extras if anybody knows on these ones. This is the cottages that will be built on this property. I also have, these are.
I have one question for you.
Yeah.
It says that they're gonna be duplex. Are you gonna be handicap accessible with a two-story place? Is there,
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
gonna be
all the property is 100% accessible, and then it contains, I think it's 12%, what you call ADA or
So they're
something.
gonna put some first-story
Yeah,
master
there's an
bedrooms?
elevator, and it's,
Okay.
in the main building.
That's what I wanna see.
And then the cottages are all ranch style.
Gotcha. Okay, that's what I needed to know. Thank you.
Thank you.
I
Any
did want to
questions?
get the spelling of your last name.
Yes, it's SCHWIEGERAHT.
Have anybody else who wants to speak on
I
this?
asked for that.
Do you have any questions, Jim?
No.
Well, it looks much better. It's a lot less,
Yeah.
waste, and the land looks gorgeous the way they're gonna do it. And after sitting through a hearing today on stormwater, it's good that you put the retention pond where it's at, so.
Did he ask for any in opposition?
Do we have a resolution?
Do we have anyone in opposition
We do.
who wants to speak, or?
Yeah, anybody else want to speak on this?
Okay.
Just say a couple words real quick.
Okay.
I am Don Flinner from Maumee, Ohio, the owner of that particular piece of property, and working with Peter and Miller Valentine in developing this piece. I just wanted to speak out in favor of what they're doing. Obviously, I think it's probably beneficial to the surrounding area and present them, proper, I guess, in general. We also have some land to the east of that. So again, and that's to be developed as well. So again, we're going to be adjacent to this piece, so we're in support of it. And on the condition, of course, that they actually go through with the closing of the property and their funds for the roadway improvement. But so our support's with Miller Valentine, assuming that the closing occurs.
Thank you very much.
Your name, your last name again?
Flemmer, F like Frank, L-E-M-M-E-R.
Okay.
Nobody in opposition then or anything? Okay, I move that we close the public hearing.
Yep.
Okay, let's see, Mr. Genowine, you seconded that?
Yes.
Call the roll, Mr. Haddad?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Okay. And your recommendation, Tim, is?
We're recommending approval as presented. And a resolution is prepared 11-024.
Okay, want to make that motion? Resolution?
We'll vote on 11-024, amendment to Kerry Woods PUD.
Second?
Second? Okay. And calling the roll, Mr. Haddad?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Okay.
Second item is rezoning of our old fire station out on Monroe at Whiteford. This has been to the Lucas County Planning Commission. They recommend approval of it. The rezoning proposal is from S1, which is our special district zoning, to C2. This property is totally surrounded by C2. City of Sylvania Commercial is catty-corner just to the west across the street. The land use plan recommends this whole corridor for C2, and we are recommending the approval of this rezoning request. We have placed some conditions on the deed in regards to landscaping and access
What motion
possibilities.
number? What resolution number is this?
The resolution number is 11027.
Oh,
We have to have a public hearing on this. We should probably have a motion to open it up for public hearing.
Let's open it for public hearing.
second?
Mr. Haddad?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Anybody would like to speak out about the sale of the fire station and? Sure, go ahead.
Jim Miners, hanging with ABC Warehouse. We're the purchaser of the property. We surround this, and we plan on developing it something of commercial use on the corner. not really on the corner, but I mean, to integrate the two sites. All the curb cuts from the fire station, presently, the 4 curb cuts will all be eliminated, and many of the conditions that were mentioned by Tim, such as the landscaping, well, that was all part of the purchase agreement.
Right.
And so we look forward to approving this so that we can proceed with the purchase of the property.
Thanks.
Sir, can you spell your last name?
MEINERSHAGEN with ABC Warehouse.
Thank you.
Anyone speaking to us on it? I move that we close the public hearing.
Second.
Mr. Haddad?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Resolution number 11-027
Correct.
to,
Rezone the property
Rezone the
at
property.
501 Monroe Street.
thank you, yes.
Second.
Okay. And Mr. Haddad
Yes.
and Mr. Genowine seconding it, and Mr. Haddad voting yes.
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Passes.
Thank you.
Okay. Public Works?
I have nothing for the board for
Okay,
tonight's
thanks. See you
meeting.
later, Nick. Go ahead.
Other than the snow is melting and spring is around the corner, so.
You might be the most popular guy tonight when you make that announcement.
I do have one comment under Public Works. You don't have to get up and address it. I did attend the stormwater hearing today. The rates are going to increase if it's approved by approximately, it would be approximately $60 per household, which would equate to the township of about $60,000 a year. And then in 5 years, it would be up to almost $9,000 a year. So it's just for matter of speaking. I spoke myself that I was against it because taxing the residents right now even more so is going to be really rough on us. And even though we need the money in the road department and we could use it otherwise, I just said that I don't know where we're going, and they said they're going to have 2 more hearings on it. So when they have another meeting on it, I'll bring some more information back to us.
Was that on the agenda, or is that an addition?
No, that was just a suggestion of what happened today, and it's not an agenda item. I was just bringing it up.
I didn't know if it was on the agenda.
We're not going to be discussing. I just want to bring that for information.
Okay, so sort of like,
Well, first off, it's difficult to make a comment on something
Right.
that is still being formulated. I mean, I watched the news tonight, and it did say about $5 per household. I know
A
Penny, a month, yes. It is something that we had our public works crews out along Bancroft Road today, maintaining our ditches and things, so it is something of interest for the township, but I think we're kind of speaking prematurely.
Correct.
Okay.
So Fire Department.
Fire Department.
Good evening. First of all, I'd like to thank Mr. Hoffman for all his efforts during the 2 last snow events and the way they cleared the roads and made it safe for our engines to get out of the engine houses and salty areas. It was a lot less stressful for our guys to drive on clear streets than it was the snowpack streets, so I do want to appreciate his efforts. I have the monthly report of January for you tonight. As you can see on page 1, our incidents are slightly down from last year. We're down 3 fire incidents, and we're down about 22 EMS incidents. We're not attributing to this to any big factor, but I think because of the snow, a lot of people stayed home, and rightfully so when the streets were so bad. Our commercial building inspection program, we're revamping it at this time. My goal is to get into every large big box store and commercial building, what we consider our high hazard areas, to get in and make sure we inspect those. The smaller mom and pop shops, my intention is to get into those once every other year rather than every year itself. We're revamping that program, and hopefully in the next couple of weeks I'll have something to bring to you on that. Our Fire Prevention Bureau reviewed 12 plans this last month. On page 2, we had several fires. The first one was on Greenacre, where we had substantial damage to the rear of the house and off the kitchen area. This came in as the residents were down the street at a party, and they were not in the structure itself. The last one at 3630 McCord Road was a vacant building that crews arrived. The fire was actually through the roof, and we're marking this as suspicious, and it's still under investigation at this time. Officer Tollison has been very helpful in helping us investigate these fires. If you'll go to page 4 of the report, you'll see that we had, during those 2 fires that we had on Greenacre and McCord Road, we did request mutual aid from both Springfield Township and Toledo Fire Divisions. They were filled in, Toledo Fire Division filled in at number 3 station, and Springfield filled in at number 2 station. Community risk reduction, as I said, we reviewed 12 plans. We have been taking up the slack for the state with their inspectors being, one retiring and one being ill, that we're going out to the nursing homes and the hospitals and doing the fire safety talks for them and demonstrations for fire extinguishers. We are becoming more active in the SCAT board, and we also have the Southview, Northview mock accident coming up in May that we're very active in. So we're going to have a busy spring this year. We did 2 environmental reviews with no consequences to those. Our training was focused this last month on ice rescue. Crews spent a lot of time out at Olander Park donning the ice rescue suits and actually jumping into Olander Park, cutting a hole in the ice, and we practice our ice rescue safety procedures. So they spent a lot of time at the ice rescue. There's a picture of 2 of our guys in there swimming around in the icy cold water. Actually, those suits, I've had those suits on. When you're in the water, the icy cold water like that, in that suit, you're actually sweating, that they're so warm. So they are very well insulated. We are instituting our firefighter physical fitness program. Crews are going through the original orientation with our peer fitness trainers, and they'll be starting the rigorous physical training sometime early next month. In addition to that picture of the guys in the ice rescue, we received 2 nice letters from 2 individuals, grade school kids, thanking us for doing our job. Actually, they're really nice letters. We copied these and took them out to the station so the people could see them. One was from Hillview, and I believe they're both from Hillview. So they're just nice letters from kids. And on the last page was the retirement of Lieutenant Fred Shia, who we presented with the plaque last meeting. I do want to bring your attention to the report. You'll notice in the report that we refer to the engine houses and the apparatus now as stations 61, 62, and 63. And 64. That is part of the new Lucas County numbering system. Yeah. We found that when we were out at Crestview having our burns at Crestview Club Apartments, we trained with Springfield Township, and Springfield Township has an engine 1, we have an engine 1. So when the crews got up on the floor to attack the fire, one crew would attack, one would hang back to protect them, and we told engine 1 to do attack. Well, which engine 1 do you want us to do attack? There are 13 fire departments in Lucas County. All of them have an engine 1. So the fire chiefs got together, we sat down, and we went to this new numbering system, which is similar to the way we used to do it back in '78 when I came on. But each engine, each department will get a series of numbers for their apparatus. Ours are 61, 62, 63, 64, and we've reserved 65 and 66 just in case we need expansion in the next 50 years or 25 years or so. Mr. Genowine, not right away.
Why is it pointing at you? I didn't do it.
So we do have some expansion built into that. Our chiefs will now be 61, 62, and so on. So that's just a way of, when we go to different municipalities, we can identify ourselves, what apparatus we're in, and what department we're from, so there's no confusion in case somebody calls for a Mayday. We did have a fire today at 5724 Bonzel's. Chief Lee was the incident commander at today. It was a significant fire on the 2nd floor. We did incur 1 dead hydrant on our 2nd line that they took off, so we're still incurring some of those dead hydrants from the the frost and the freeze that we've had in the past. That has been reported, so we still have those issues to go ahead and face also. And that's all I have, unless you have something for me.
We still got leaks in number 3? Roof?
Yes, sir. Unfortunately, we have 4 leaks now in the roof at number 3's fire station. I sent Mr. Stokes another email today, and we had a problem with one of the circuit breakers again today. So he has asked HARP to send a repair person out. I'm assuming with the way the melt is going on the roof, that they will be able to get up there and hopefully do a temporary patch. I think it has to be over 30 degrees before they can get a patch up there.
It's going to be 50 tomorrow, day after tomorrow.
Okay, so they should be able to get up there and take care of some of those leaks. Did you want me to answer Mrs. Levine's
What'd she say?
question about the training?
I thought something else you said that I didn't hear.
No. About the training, would you like me to?
Yeah, go ahead real quick.
Okay, we train in a lot of different types of fires on a yearly basis. Everything from structural fires, field fires, auto fires, hazardous materials, petroleum fires. One of the training scenarios that we do is on our electric cars, because they're being more prominent now. If you cut the wrong wire on an electric car, it could hurt you real bad and mess up your day, something terrible. So we do train on those, and we are working with the manufacturers to give us updates, CDs and whatnot, to give us updates on those to try to keep up to date on those trainings. Our training captain, Captain Smith, does a real good job with that. You are. Sir? Okay.
Number 2, they're at painting. I was driving over there the other day.
Number 2, the construction meeting was at the other day, last Tuesday. They were starting the painting process, getting the trim up. As soon as that's completed, they'll start running the flooring in. They still are on schedule for the March. The only issue that we have is we will not have access to the front of the building off McCord Road due to they won't be able to pour the approach till probably late March, early April. But they are still on track. The geothermal, they were there the other day. They are drilling their wells. They should have them in. I believe they were going to start Monday. They should be in by tomorrow.
Yeah, they started yesterday.
Yesterday, okay. So they should be in. So they are moving ahead well on that. There's very few issues with it. I did contact the people for the gear lockers and things. We're getting those specs together and getting those going to be shipped shortly.
Good. Looks like it's really nice. I like the construction 10 times better than the other construction.
Yeah, it looks very nice. And if you get a chance to get inside, it's really shaping up.
I've already been inside.
It's really shaping up nice.
It's warm.
And every time that Mr. Stokes sends the pictures, I send them out to the guys so they can see the progress that's being made. Nothing else?
No.
Thank you.
Thanks. Please.
Good evening. Before you have the monthly report for the police department for January. I won't go through all the numbers. They're right there for you to see, but just a few highlights. We had 1,364 total calls for service. We wrote 80 citations in the month of January. And as you can imagine, wintertime citations do tend to be down. Accident reports, we had 81 property accidents, 12 injury accidents, and thank goodness no fatals. As far as the criminal offenses, the more serious ones of note, in January we experienced 5 burglaries, a couple robberies, 13 domestic violences, which people can't believe it, but in this community we deal with domestic violence far more than a lot of people believe and you would imagine. 6 assaults, 15 OVIs, that's operating a motor vehicle under the influence, and lumping everything else together, 137 other crimes. The detectives were assigned 56 cases, of which within the month they were able to clear 27, and 29 remain active, and during the month of January they cleared an additional 26 previously assigned cases. As I mentioned before, with Sergeant Dykes' retirement, I made the decision, we've had other officers assist him in range master duties, and it is a very big job. It was somewhat difficult for Ron to maintain on his own. So in fact, I met with them today at length as far as the cleanup of our inventory and the ordering of ammo for this year and such. And I've got 3 officers, Officer Matuszewski, Officer Germani, and Officer Marsh, that are going to work with me as far as everything from the outdoor and indoor range to putting together a much more comprehensive firearms instruction. Last year, we really just qualified by state mandate, and this year we're going to train a whole lot more in all 3 weapon systems, which unfortunately means more ammo, but I learned today that the ammo costs are down considerably because of, I could word it a different way, let's say diplomatically, because of things kind of winding down in Iraq and Afghanistan a little bit.
Correct.
Recently, just a case of note or what, we had our 3 community affairs officers, Sergeant Whalen, Officer Krychek, and Officer Matuszewski, involved in a situation in which an estranged father had threatened to abduct his children. He's got one kid that goes to Hillview and another child that goes to Arbor Hills. And unfortunately, this guy was pretty elusive. He's got lots of warrants. He's got some violent felony warrants for him and such. And so we were, especially around dismissal, we had officers, those 3 officers positioned at those schools to prevent any kind of a tragedy or any kind of an abduction situation. They did a good job. We basically had to be over there for a period of about 3 weeks. But I'm happy to report a couple of weeks ago, through the assistance of the U.S. Marshal Service and Toledo Police, we were able to arrest this guy, and they're hanging on to him. So that was a good situation, a potential tragedy that was averted. We don't want to make the national news with something like that. Upcoming events, community affairs is very active. Starting April 5th, we'll do another Citizens Police Academy, and that will last through May 24th. We do get a lot of the officers involved in the instruction, and that's been a very successful program. We usually have anywhere from 12 to 20 people go through that. It's been very popular. And then way off in the distance, we do have Safety Township and Central Elementary School in June. And this year, for the first time, actually, Sylvania City is going to conduct theirs on our turf, so to speak, at Central, and they're going to go the week before. So it's a good thing. Our community affairs officers are working with theirs, and they really assist each other in putting the program together. Our 2 detectives, our detective in the FBI Fugitive Task Force and our detective in the DEA Task Force, have been very active. You've got a little bit of a summary there, or you should have, of some of their actions. I don't want to really disclose too much in a public meeting because there are ongoing investigations and such, but our membership in those 2 task force, in the DEA task force from a financial standpoint too, has proven to be pretty lucrative, and it's been a real good situation. The officer that works the FBI Fugitive Task Force was extremely helpful with his resources to apprehend those 3, I'll call them 3 clowns that shot up the house on Salgrave with the felonious assault and situation like that. Just today, actually, so you won't have anything noting this, I got a nice letter from newly promoted Sergeant Toth, who works the day shift, and she talks about Officer Borman. And I remember hearing this on the radio, actually just last week, last Friday. But it was about 14:30 hours, and Officer Borman was patrolling in the 5100 block of Monroe Street when he witnessed a hit-skip accident, and was able to check very quickly to see that the person the victim, we'll say, was not hurt badly, and gave chase to the suspect vehicle. This is something he just happened upon. And talk about being in the right place in the right time, that comes with active patrol. But anyway, was able to stop the vehicle and apprehend the suspect, and it turned out he had several warrants out of Toledo and driving under suspension, the whole deal. And those are, without a plate or whatever, a lot of those go on south. So that was a real good job, and accolades go to Officer Borman, correctly identified by Sergeant Toth. And that's all I've got for the monthly report, if you've got anything. No? Okay. Second on the list for the police department, we seek approval of Resolution 11-025 to authorize the department to create an eligibility list for the future hiring of dispatchers. We currently have no eligibility list, and we are down. I would like to add one dispatcher immediately. That's going to be the second resolution here. But hire one immediately, that would cut down our overtime considerably. I've also moved our chief dispatcher, or he is moving very shortly here after he takes care of a couple of other things, from a 5 and 2 administrative schedule to a 4 and 2 schedule, where he's in the rotation of the day shift other dispatchers. It'll cut down significantly on overtime. The only shift that we currently have 4 people in the rotation on that shift is afternoon shift, and we experience a lot less overtime on afternoon shift because of that. We always did work 12 dispatchers in the rotation, 4 per shift, and that's what we're going to try to get back to. So that's the goal with hiring one immediately. And then...
Can I ask a question first? Do we have a list currently that we're using?
No, we don't have any list.
So do we have somebody else that we're going to hire, or we have one person we're just going to...
Well, what we want to do is create an eligibility list,
Okay.
start the whole process. And I've been in discussions with the administrator and the system administrator about that whole process. So first resolution, we seek approval
All right,
to...
resolution number 11-25, I move that we enact the acting police chief to establish a list of eligibility for hired dispatchers.
Second.
All in a roll, Mr. Haddad?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Okay.
Okay, and the second resolution, 1126, would be simply expanding on that to go ahead and hire a dispatcher once we establish that list. And that will take some time. We have to advertise and give a test, and then we ban that test or take a part of the highest finishers and then move down if we need to, but look at the most qualified people per the test results and such. Once we hire, then quite honestly, it's a pretty extensive training process too that they go through.
We have a very clear-cut process and thing that's going to rank the candidates and...
Right now, Susan and myself are working with the chief on making sure that the process is clear-cut. We don't want to run into any problems where there's any ambiguity of where a person got points and didn't get points. So we will...
Just make sure you go over it with us so that we know too, so we're not blindsided.
Yeah.
Do we need to approve to hire a dispatcher? I mean, let's get this list,
Right.
let's get the process in order and get a list together, and then we'll
Very good.
issue something to hire somebody.
Correct. I agree with
Does
that.
would that?
Yeah, you want to table the...
Yeah, so table that motion.
Yes.
I make a motion that we table resolution number 11-026.
Second.
All in a roll, Mr. Haddad?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
That's all I have.
Thank you.
The board, as you know, our newest trustee isn't here tonight, and I haven't really been able to go over the funding requests for the various community funding that are on the agenda, items number 1128, 34, 35, 36, 37, and 38. At this time, I request the board if they could table this to the next meeting so that we can fully appraise the new trustee and get a consensus.
You want to approve some of these? We can.
No, let's table it. I think it's the right thing to do.
Okay, do that.
Yeah.
Make a motion.
Make a motion to table resolutions 11-028 through 11-038.
Second.
Calling the roll, Mr. Genowine?
Well, wait,
Oh.
I'm
we
mistaken.
skipped
It's
a few.
28, 34, 35, 36, 37, it's not all.
37 to 38.
Yes,
Okay.
so.
That would be your motion? would be
Yes,
to go-
yes.
And you're seconding that, Mr.
Yes.
Haddad? And I'll call the roll then, Mr. Haddad?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
He's fiscal officer. Mr. Beck, would you present the fiscal officer report?
Good evening. I think the first item on the agenda is the presentation of the January report. That is out there in two separate files. Unfortunately, it's big enough where our scanning system has to create two files, but it's out there. My month-end analysis didn't say a whole lot because it's the first month. We haven't collected, through January, we hadn't collected a whole lot of revenue. Taxes hadn't started coming in yet, and we're under budget in January as far as our spending is concerned. So that's basically all the four major funds. I'll entertain any questions, if you have any at this time.
Just one, our revenues flat, going up, down?
Revenues in January historically are very, very small because
Agreed.
you don't get any tax revenue. There's not a whole lot of permits and zoning. All the other departments collect a few dollars in fees, but just none of the monies are coming in January. They did start in February, so fortunately.
So do we pass a motion to approve?
No, we don't have a motion on this anymore. We used to, but
Okay.
we don't anymore. Okay, the first resolution that we do need to pass is Resolution 029, and this is to do a transfer of funds in the fire department from the apparatus repairs to training supplies, and this is to purchase books for fire inspectors class. This particular item was not budgeted for in the original budget. So we're taking money out of another line item and putting it in there.
Are we still going to be fully funded in the apparatus repairs if we need to?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'll offer resolution number 11-029 to move money from the apparatus fund to the training supply fund.
Second.
Mr. Haddad?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Second resolution is 11-030, and this is to pay two bills on on then and now purchase certificates. The first one is to the insurance company, Stapleton Insurance, and this is because we received the bill. It was dated prior to us even creating any purchase orders in 2011. So because the bill was dated prior to a purchase order, we have to pay it under a then and now certificate. And the second one is to Omarissa, which you know is our health insurance, and that was because the rates went up more than what we had written in the original purchase order. So those are the two bills that we had.
Can we do spell check?
Can we do I do spell check?
On certificate.
Yeah, that's my typing.
That's all right.
Is that increase to Omarissa a yearly thing, or is it?
Oh, just 1 month. It was 1 month.
1 month.
And we created that purchase order a long time ago to pay the bill, and unfortunately, it wasn't enough.
Okay. I'll offer resolution 11-030, approval of a then and now purchase certificate to pay Stapleton Insurance and Omarissa.
Second.
Calling the roll, Mr. Haddad?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Resolution 11-031 is to increase the certificate of estimated resources, which is originally filed with the county in November of 2010. The big one here is what I call the OPWC fund. At the time we prepared this, we didn't know what projects we were going to do, so we obviously didn't put any money in this particular project or in this fund. So this is increasing the revenue in the Ohio Public Works Fund. increasing the internal service fund by $8,700 and the fire grant fund by $3,000.
These are all the grants that we just received.
Yes.
All right, I'll offer resolution 11-031. Increase approval of certificate of estimated resources in the fund, selected fund.
Second.
Call the roll, Mr. Haddad?
Yeah.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Resolution 11-032 is to, we're cleaning up a couple funds here. In particular, this is a police grant fund. We received word on some things after the budget had been prepared that some things are going to change. This particular resolution is decreasing the appropriation in these particular 3 line items. The next one, there'll be some increases in some line items, or requests for increases.
What's Coca-Cola for?
This is some money that we get from Coca-Cola donations to the police department.
Okay.
I'll offer resolution 11-032, township reduction in appropriations.
Second.
Calling the roll, Mr. Haddad?
Yeah.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Final resolution I have is 11-033, and this is to increase the appropriations in the police grant fund and a couple line items in the internal service fund, the dental claims fund. These are appropriations. Again, the Fund 239 is the fire grant fund. Those items we will be receiving money from. The second one is the internal service fund. In the last line item, the fund borrowed $10,200 to get it started this past year. We want to be able to pay that back this year. So that's what those are for.
I'll offer resolution 11-033, township appropriation from unencumbered balance.
Second.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Mr. Haddad?
Yes.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Well, I got a question for you.
Okay.
I asked you before, have you looked into, or I guess I'm going to get with you this weekend, I want to get going with the city of Durango in Colorado. They have grant monies to pay for SIRE, and we can get those monies appropriated. So I'd like to go through that with you so we can get that request going so we can get some money back in.
Okay.
Okay?
That'd be fine.
All right, thank you.
Next, we have open discussion. Mr. Zeitler?
I gave you the list for anybody that wants to speak now.
Oh.
Well, that's hearing of the public after that.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Did you have
I have
something you
no-
need
I
to say
have no-
first?
No.
Okay, so that's
Next, we would have,
non-agenda items.
next we have a hearing of the public. And let's see who is signed up. Mr. Al Hayes.
No surprise. Good evening, Al Hayes, 7040 Whitetail Court. I was waiting to ask these questions because it's been brought up in a prior meeting, and I understand Mr. Porter couldn't be here tonight, and the fire chief didn't hit on these particular subjects. How are we coming with the contractor and the prevailing wage problem on number 3s?
We aren't having any of those this time because everything's going according to the way it should have been done the first time around.
No, I'm sorry. Number 3s.
Oh, number 3s. I'll explain to you the prevailing wage thing. What it happens is that it goes on the contractor. Those fines are sent to him as well as the people that work for him under the subs. Has nothing to do with the township. It doesn't cost us any liability.
Okay, but what about the problems that we're having there? I know Mr. Porter's not here.
We still have money
But you're
held
well
back.
aware. What's that?
We still have money held back because of those repairs that we're not giving any more money out till they're done.
So we haven't had a solution yet.
The roof that we have had problems with is under warranty.
Yes.
So every roofing contractor out there, tells you have to wait till spring to make any adjustments. And certainly with the weather we've been having, I don't know a house out there that doesn't have some ice damming problems. But once the weather breaks, they have committed to us that everyone's going to be back on board and get the roof fixed. I believe there is still one outstanding prevailing wage complaint, and like Kevin mentioned, that's being handled at the state and with the contractor, and we're kind of out of.
And these are just questions that I have for you guys.
Yeah.
Also, how's the lawsuit coming on that? I understand we took the fire truck manufacturer, have a lawsuit with them. Has there been anything done on that?
I believe we're in communication with them. I do not believe we have filed any sort of
We don't have a
legal
lawsuit.
work.
Oh, I was understanding that
No,
we were going to...
we're working on terms of trying to get those things rectified, increasing warranty, and making sure those problems are going to be resolved.
I think our attorney sent their
Right.
attorneys in a letter,
Okay.
so we're just
Well, I think you
there.
had mentioned that one time before.
Yeah, a lot of it was
Kevin,
manufacturing problems, and the guy just threw stuff in, it wasn't installed appropriately. When Al took me around and we looked at all the equipment, I could see that a lot of it wasn't done in the apparatus properly, so if we can get those items warranted, let them pay for all the repairs on all the damage, you know.
Okay. And one other thing that the chief didn't bring up, and I don't know if that was on his agenda, the recruitment of volunteers, how are we doing on that?
Yes, Jim?
I'll ask you.
Sure. We currently do not have a volunteer program right now. We have a part-time program. We have hired part-time, part-time people. Our objective is we have an officer's test this Saturday that we're going to be giving. Once that test is finished, we'll start the process of putting out notifications like the police department's going to do for a dispatcher. We have to advertise, put out in the different papers and start the process to start that test. Oh, yes, yes. Yeah, we're proceeding with that.
Okay. Thanks, Al.
I'd like to make one comment, question on Fire Station 3, the contractor in the punch list. Our attorney, their attorney, Harp, the chief, myself, and Tom Stokes all met and went over the punch list, our punch list of items that we determined that needed to be fixed. Harp agreed with all the items to fix them all. We have held back retainage until those items are fixed. As Trustee Genowine said, the roof is under warranty, and there's nothing we can really do on that until springtime. So at this time, Harp is working on fixing all the punch list items that we had, and as I understand, they're moving ahead with that. And it seems like we're working it out.
And that was just my question, I understand.
That's fine.
Porter couldn't be here.
Correct.
I was just...
Anybody else?
Next, we have Josh Nolan.
Are you going to give us a brief summary of the meeting that you guys had?
I am. Josh Nolan, 6140 Sunny Lake Court. By my approach, handing to you a map that was created by members of the Interstate Informed Citizens Coalition. And please let the record reflect that. Sorry, Mr. General, I didn't mean to knock you down there. And actually, we've got some of our members here this evening. Please rise. And we're here tonight for a couple of purposes. One is to update you, as we've done previously, as to what's going on. And two, based upon the updates and the events that are occurring, we're here to ask you to take some action tonight. To my left here, and what was been presented to you, is a map that was created by members of the IICC that is based off of the exact latitude and longitude coordinates for 89 different wind turbines that have now been sited in our area. That's less than a third of what's being proposed. So, as you will see, in the bottom right corner of what you have there, you'll see that there's now a turbine located less than a mile from Sylvania Township.
I just noticed that.
And that's, like I said, that's less than a third. So there's probably about another 160 or so to come. And most of the ones that are not on that map will be further east of what you see there, because obviously the western quadrant is pretty full. Now, as I've stated, we've been before you 2 different times to give you updates on what's going on. And I understand that your hectic schedules didn't permit you to attend our seminar on February 5th. I did email Mr. Genowine and Mr. Haddad that 2 of those presenters are available online at WGTE's website. I think they're about a half hour to 40 minutes apiece. And if you have very, very limited time, I would strongly encourage you to view the presentation given by the folks from DeKalb, Illinois, Dave and Stephanie Hulteen. They are now living in the middle of an industrial wind farm against their will. They were not approached by the developers until after the turbines were basically being constructed. And I think you'll find their presentation very powerful.
I went to the seminar in Columbus about this just this past week when we were down there. They had one brief summary about wind turbines and alternate energies, and I reviewed the whole thing down there at that seminar about it, and I saw some of the problems they were having and some of the problems they weren't having, so I am upset that they're getting this close to our border.
And they're moving
State rep
forward.
said there's nothing we could do about it, so I says, I don't know what other action we're gonna be able to do.
Well, and I've spoken with Mr. DeWitt pretty extensively the other day, and he's kind of come to the same conclusion that we run into some territorial issues with the state border being there. So that means that while there may not be legally binding actions that can be taken, there are certainly messages that can be sent by the board. And that takes me into my next point. We would ask for 2 resolutions from the board. One, to send to Riga Township government, asking them to wait 6 months or to take no further action for 6 months while Sylvania studies this issue, because Sylvania is very late to the game. None of the 3 developers nor anyone in the Riga Township government took any action to notify Sylvania Township as to what was occurring. They've been studying this issue for 2.5 years. We've been involved in it for 2.5 months. It's certainly an issue that's going to affect thousands of Sylvania Township residents. It's the report that I presented you previously from Mike McCann strongly supports the notion that we're going to be seeing 20 to 45% reductions in residential property values within 2 miles. Now, as you see, there's already 1 turbine right there that's less than a mile away from Sylvania Township, and there are certainly more to come. This is just what's been revealed to us through public information requests, freedom of information requests through the FAA, because the developers refuse to provide this information.
How many leases have they already encumbered with that they've, gone through?
That's not information that they'll share with us. Only a certain amount of them are being actually filed with the deed recording office in Michigan. As of right now, I believe there are somewhere around 45 to 50 leases in Riga Township. About 25 of those are actual registered voters in Riga Township. The rest are absentee landlords.
Okay.
And I know for a fact that the field that's located directly behind my house, which is Edgewater Place subdivision, has been leased to a developer. So at that point, if the developers get their way in Michigan, there will be at least 1, possibly 2 turbines within 1,000 feet of Edgewater Place subdivision. And considering the value of the homes along there, the value of the homes in 12 Lakes, you'll see a significant drop with, obviously a corresponding drop in property tax revenue. So because of that, we would ask you to move forward and send a resolution to Riga asking them to at least give Sylvania 6 months to study this issue to determine what action, if any, may be taken, or if the only viable option is litigation. Because this is certainly, in my humble opinion, a uncompensated taking by the state of Michigan or the Township of Riga if they're going to allow these developers to come into their area and take action that will decrease the property values of Sylvania residents. We certainly would not allow them to put a Ford factory in there or, a glass company or anything else. There would be no other sort of industrial use 1,000 feet from thousands of suburban homes. This is no different. And Riga is moving ahead quickly. While they have a moratorium in place until
Have they
September.
already approved anything at the township level, or is it just rezoning right now?
It's in their zoning and planning commission. The 2 developers have submitted a red line version of the ordinance. Our group, the IICC, last Thursday submitted a red line version of the ordinance requesting certain changes. At that time, their planning commission went into executive session, came out and announced that they would be holding their public hearing, their 1 public hearing on this issue, March 10th. And that's quite an increase in the timeline because, like I said, their moratorium doesn't expire until September. So if they're moving forward with a public hearing in March, you can anticipate that there will be
And this is the zoning.
a zone, right. But in Michigan, the way it operates is it goes from the planning commission up to the county planning commission to be approved or disapproved. They don't have any right to make any particular changes, but they can recommend them. At that point, it comes back down to the township board to make a decision, and then from there, depending upon what the actual language is in the ordinance and the feeling of the residents up there, I think there's a high probability that it will go to a referendum for a vote of all the township members.
So that'll be at March 10th, and where they're going to do this?
That will be at the Riga Township Hall on Riga Highway.
Okay.
That's the one chance for everyone to come out and comment as to how they feel about this, so we would certainly hope that...
What time they meet, do you know?
7 p.m.
Okay.
We would certainly hope that Sylvania Township will put forth a resolution, although it may be non-binding, it would certainly be instructive to Riga to inform them that their neighbors would hope they would give us an opportunity to review this issue before they take action that affects all of us. The second resolution that ICC is seeking from the Sylvania Township Board is a 2-mile buffer zone. Again, it's questionable whether there is any legal effect, but it certainly sends a strong political message that the Sylvania Township government does not want this type of industrial use within 2 miles of its residents. We believe that that's a safe buffer zone. It complies with the report that was previously provided to the Township Board from Mike McCann in regards to the property value effects that are felt within a 2-mile radius. And it also helps speak to the health effects that was also provided to you at previous meetings in terms of sleep deprivation, anxiety, and the other effects that go along with that. So that's what we're here tonight to request, and we greatly appreciate your consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, Tim?
I had a meeting with legal counsel last Wednesday, and he's been involved in another case over in Erie County, so he's been splitting his time right now. He should be through with that this week, so he said he was going to do some research on the matter. He was not aware of any laws that would allow reciprocity between the states. He's going to explore the possibility of possibly using our zoning resolution and some possibilities that we could take a proactive approach to protect the border, but that's going to take a little while to research out. But I fully expect him to have something available probably yet this week.
Can we at least have him send a letter stating our concern and ask them to communicate with us a little bit better? I mean, like he said, if this has been going on for 6 months or 2.5 years or whatever, I mean, we are certainly coming into the game pretty late here. And just keep us up to date, speed a little bit better. And, you know, we ask that they move slowly so we can get our residents and things up to speed and make the right decision here. I mean, certainly a 2-mile buffer zone seems reasonable to me. But again, I know we don't have any jurisdiction there, but if we could just send a letter stating, you know, our concerns.
And if I may, City of Sylvania is actually considering a similar resolution.
I know, I was at the meeting, and they're going to be talking about it next week.
Possibly, we could talk with the city in regards to, you know, what their
Well, I'm going to go to the
legal
meeting Monday night,
counsels.
and I'll see what they pass, and then I'll bring it back to us on our first meeting, and we can make something at that motion at that time. Get it set to them before the 10th, so I can go to that meeting with it.
My understanding from talking to Mike Brown that City of Sylvania has decided they want to hear from the developers before they take any action.
Right.
But as of last Friday, I think it had been 5 or 6 days past since the invitations had been issued, and not one had responded. So I'm not sure if the city will take any action on Monday if they have not received a response from the developers. But that's my understanding of the status of their residents.
Okay. Thank you.
And I do think if we moved in coordination with the city, it might carry more weight, and certainly a united front can do better. So stay in touch with them too, but I wouldn't mind seeing a letter go out just stating, hey, you know, we're concerned and we want to be, you know, kept in the loop on this stuff.
Okay.
Anybody else?
We do have Chad Sorg.
My name's Chad Sorg, and I live at 5941 Portia Drive. I'm not part of their organization, I'm just a resident that's affected by this. I've heard a lot of information. So I'm just here as a resident. You know, I live in the township, and I have 3 kids, another child on the way. I moved into the house around 2003, and I've seen my property values decrease significantly as everyone else has. And to have something like this come just north of my property is very troubling as a resident. I'm fearful of, one, of my family's health, and then secondly, losing even more of my property values. And I'm just one person, but there's a ton of people out there that this would affect. So, you guys taking the steps that you've talked about would be great. As a resident, I would certainly appreciate that.
We're gonna try as best as we can. The bad thing is it's another state. That's the only bad thing about it.
At least make our, as I'm
That's
doing
what I'm
here,
saying.
at least make my
Oh,
voice heard,
definitely
right?
will.
Right, that's what it's all about. Thanks, guys.
No problem, thank you.
Chris Holhan? Chris?
Only thing I have to add on the subject is, Kevin, you indicated that 18 years ago when Riga Township was looking at putting a nuclear waste dump in there, that your brother was heavily involved here in Sylvania in being able to cross the state borders and put some pressure on them to not have that go through. And if we're all kind of sitting around wondering where our resources are, I guess I'm wondering where your brother's resources were and if we can look that direction.
I talked to him about that, Chris, and he said specifically, since it was a nuclear dump and even Riga was against that, they all pooled together to fight that for the federal mandate, and then the federal government decided not to put it in that area. Windmill turbines is a whole different act, and they're going to be making revenue off it. And it's tough for us to get them to say, hey, we want you to stop, and they're saying, hey, we need the money, probably what it's going to amount to.
Right.
And we don't really care what you guys want, but I do want to get some sort of resolution to these people and a letter to these people saying that we're not for this. I would hope that we can do that. I mean, I don't think it's going to stop anything, but at least we're going to make our, words known to them.
Yeah.
Can I just say something on the matter?
Well, what's your name, sir?
Tom Craigie. I'm on the zoning board here in Sylvania Township.
Can you give your address, please, and come up to the microphone, Tom? Just so we can have it on the record.
All right.
Tom Craigie, 9555 Sylvania Avenue. And I'm familiar with Riga Township. We own some farmland up there. Haven't signed with any of the developers, but know some people that maybe have been talked to. There's also oil and gas leases going on up there. There's also in Lenawee County waste management. And I think it's naive of us to say, let's put our garbage out by the street. It disappears out of Sylvania Township. Where does it go? Lenawee, Oregon, the dumps, the landfills. Here they have a chance to maybe take a little bit back, get some wind power, whatever, tax revenue for them. And here we're thinking about ourselves once again, but our garbage is going there and those things. So a common sense approach, I mean, you can't look at this from one angle, guys, and I think that's what these guys are doing. They're saying there's no industrial zoning within a half mile or whatever. What's the grain elevators just a quarter mile north of Sylvania, 223, Dana, the stone quarries. There's industrial zoning in this area. It's been here for a long time, and when they moved here, they knew it. And now, someone's got a chance to take a little back, and it happens to be in another state, so I know there's not much we can do. But I think there's other issues to look at here than just themselves. So I just wanted to make that known. And also, Mitchell is the county line. I very highly doubt they will come into Monroe County, Lenawee County. This is their thing. So to say that they're going to get closer to the city of Sylvania, I don't believe is true. And no many farmers up there. There's no development action up there. So
Somebody told me there's one about a mile north of the city of Sylvania. That's right on the edge there, but I haven't seen where that's coming in
No,
yet.
that wouldn't be true because that's Monroe County and all the developments in Lenawee, so.
But, I mean,
I'm not saying you're wrong, but
No, I mean, I haven't seen anything else other than this, so I would take a look at it, so. Thanks, Tom.
Well, I know this is a controversial issue. I understand there are two sides of it. I sat in a Chamber of Commerce meeting where they reviewed the positives of this in a lot of fashions. And I certainly think it would be the goal of this board, and I don't want to speak on Kevin's behalf, but certainly a buffer zone between a highly densely residential area and the farm area is a good compromise, and that's kind of what I'm going to work towards, because, honestly, it's difficult to come out against alternative energy and those sort of things, but certainly we've got to consider the quality of living and why people buy and come to Sylvania Township, and certainly when you buy out there, you don't expect to have a 500-foot wind turbine put up 2 years later. So the board is continuing to monitor it. Tim has been given the baton here on our behalf, and hopefully we'll continue to work that, and we are going to keep a very close eye on this, I promise you that. And again, I think it's important that we open the communications up with Riga and just make sure that we're aware of what they're doing. I mean, because it is kind of surprising that we got into the game so late, but I think we're pretty well up to speed, and we're going to keep an eye on this. One quick comment.
Just a point of clarification, the land in question is not zoned industrial. The land where they're putting these, due to some clever marketing on behalf of the wind industry, is agriculture.
Agricultural.
Because they put this as a harvest, the wind is not a harvestable crop. It's in my humble opinion, it's about the same as harvesting cell phone towers. No one's claiming that that's an agricultural use.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Anything else? That's
No,
it?
we have no other people. Mr. Zeitler?
Yes, at this point, request a motion to go into executive session.
Oh, I got one more comment to make. Before we go into executive session, Thursday night, I'm going to a Township Association meeting. I'm hearing about the solid waste district that the county has enacted, and they're going to be working and discussing with us on the garbage program that they want to propose countywide by buying Toledo's system and using it countywide. I still have our motion that's been tabled about our garbage program, and I will bring that information to our first meeting in March after I hear what's going on here, and we can discuss this and hopefully as a board act one way or another. And we'll go on from this, so that's all I want on the next agenda. Go ahead.
At this point, I request an executive session to discuss labor contracts with the police union.
Make motion to go into executive session at 8:23.
Second.
8:23. Mr. Haddad?
Yes.
Mr. Dunaway?
Yes.
Passes.
Thanks, everybody, for your concerns. We're going to be doing the best we can for you.
Yes.
Your emails these days?
I am.
Okay, I'll send you.